What's going on, everybody? Sports Expert here, and we are here with our post-Week 6, Week 7 college football top 25. It was an interesting week. We had some interesting games. We had some really uninteresting games. We had some games that looked like upsets that didn't happen, and we had a couple upsets in there. So, yeah, but before we get started, please hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Turn on the post notification bell. Like the video. Comment what you think. So, let's get started with this video. So, yeah. I would appreciate it, guys. We're going to be doing a few college football videos in the next couple days, so please tune in for those. Would appreciate it a ton. So, yeah. But at 25, I have the 4-2 Kentucky Wildcats. They are coming off a home loss 24-14 against South Carolina. So, they were missing Will Levis, had to go to the backup. I mean, not too shocking they lost this game because Kentucky just isn't that great without Levis, but, that's just, a tough loss. Any chance at a New Year's Six Bowl is probably done now, so not ideal for Kentucky. But, Mark Stoops has still done a solid job over there. But, South Carolina just played better football, especially the defense. Not like Spencer Rattler played great or anything, but, At 24, I have the James Madison Dukes. They are coming off a great 42-20 win against Arkansas State. I say great because it's on the road and Arkansas State can score. So, really impressive win right there for James Madison. They were favored by 11. They end up winning by 22. So, yeah, I mean, Todd Centeno and company are doing great over there in their first year in the FBS. James Madison will not be eligible for the Sun Belt Championship because they're still in the process of joining the FBS. So, yeah. But they've played great football so far. At 23, I have the Purdue Boilermakers. Them and Kentucky are the only two lost teams I have in here. They are coming off a 31-29 road win against Maryland. This Purdue team's really good. They're one of the best teams in the Big Ten with Aiden O'Connell, no doubt about it. I mean, they're very close to being, I believe, 6-0. I believe they're 4-2 right now. So, Purdue man, the Purdue man's happy right now. Charlie Jones has been a great pickup for them, transfer out of Iowa. Hawkeye man's offense sucks. And yeah. So Purdue got them at 23, and they're a threat in the Big Ten West. At 22, I have the Tulane Green Wave. They're 5-1, and they are coming off a 24-9 home victory over East Carolina. Michael Pratt came back, played all right. The defense is one of the best in the country. They've been playing incredible football, so Tulane, they work hard as a team. They play fundamental football. They know what they're doing out there. I just really like what Willie Fretz and company have done. If they don't lose to Southern Miss that one game, they're 6-0, and they're probably in my top 20. At 21, I have the Illinois Fighting Illini. They are coming off a 9-6 win against the Iowa Hawkeyes. They are now, I believe, 5-1, as they have a loss against Indiana on the road, but, Illinois, they've played some great football. Defensively, they've been one of the better teams in the country, and there were 5 field goals in that Iowa-Illinois game. No touchdowns. Not surprising. Both offenses are pretty weak, but, Illinois probably has a slighter edge on offense, but Brett Bielema was I thought it was a very good hire just because of his coaching experience and he knows the Illinois program. It's just players love him. So, yeah. But he's done a great job over there. At 20, I have the Kansas State Wildcats. They are coming off a very close 10-9 road win against the Iowa State Cyclones. So, defenses showed up here. And, it would have been more high scoring for Kansas State at least if that dude didn't fumble at the 1-yard line. He pulled a Kalen Clay, but hey, so yeah, so Kansas State, they're not too bad of a defensive team either, but at the same time, there's going to be games where they're going to need to step up offensively, and that's what they've done, so that's why they're in the top 20. When they need to step up offensively, they do. When they need to step up defensively, they do that as well. At 19, I have the 5-0 Syracuse Orange. They are coming off a bye this week. And yeah, the rest of the season should be interesting. They have an interesting schedule coming up. At 18, I have the Utah Utes. They are coming off a 42-33 road loss against UCLA. UCLA is playing great football. Got to give them credit, but Utah, man, they've been one of the biggest disappointments so far for me this year. Cam Rising had a tough day. I mean, he hasn't played bad football, but he hasn't played great football. The Utah Utes team, I thought they'd take off, but just no signs of it. And they've just been, they've been beaten twice. Their college football playoff hopes are done. So definitely a disappointing season for Kyle Whittingham and company. I wonder if it pops the question if he could consider retirement, but we'll see. At 17, I have the Kansas Jayhawks. They are coming off a 38-31 loss against TCU. I mean, Kansas lost Jalen Daniels in the first half, but Jason Bean, the backup, came in, who was the starter for most of last year. He went off 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, played really good football. I mean, Kansas still competing at the highest level with one of the better teams in the country with their backup quarterback. Gotta give them credit there. I mean, can't really move them down too much. They're still 5-1, still having a great season. So, yeah. At 16, I have the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. They're coming off an easy 45-10 win against Army. Sam Hartman in the offense looked pretty settled in, playing an inferior Army team who's just not as good as past years. I mean, Army's really struggled this year. So, yeah, but if I'm correct, did Air Force lose to Utah State? I'll have to look at that. But if your Air Force did lose to Utah State, I was telling people Air Force was overrated as heck. But hey. At 15, I have the Mississippi State Bulldogs. They're coming off a 40-17 win at home against Arkansas. Arkansas did not have KJ Jefferson, so they were in a bit of a predicament all day long. So, Will Rogers had a great game. He's definitely in my Heisman list. Might do a video about that too. So, yeah, I can't stress it enough that this Mississippi State team is criminally underrated. They should have maybe played a bit closer in that LSU game, but hey, they're still a great team and competing in the SEC. At 14, I have the NC State Wolfpack. They're coming off a 19-17 win against Florida State. They were down a bit in this game. I can't remember what the score was exactly at one point, but Devin Leary led them to a comeback. Devin Leary, who's been another very disappointing player this year, which is just a lot of players, man, they're just disappointed. So it's gotten to the point where it's like, you want these guys to succeed, but where's the talent? They have it, but NC State at 14, and yeah, it's a fine year. It's been a fine year for them, but not absolutely impressive. At 13, I have the Oregon Ducks. They are coming off an impressive 49-22 win on the road against Arizona. So this game was the over-under was 70.5. I was very adamant this game was hit over by 1 point. But, Bo Nix ran the ball well. The Oregon defense was fine. The Arizona defense needs a lot of help. But at the same time, Oregon was able to thrive off that, no doubt. And Dan Lanning, since that loss versus UGA, is really, settled in here. At 12, I have the Ole Miss Rebels. They are coming off a big win against Vanderbilt. They were down at halftime, 20-17, Looked like they were struggling a bit, but then settled in. Lane Kiffin, got his team rolling. Jackson Dart definitely, he struggled throughout the first half, but settled in the second half. So, Ole Miss still in the top 12, though, right here. At 11, I got the Penn State Nittany Lions. I believe they're coming off a bye. Yeah, they're coming off a bye, so Penn State, they got some big games coming up, though. It's going to be interesting. At 10, I have the TCU Horn Frogs. They are coming off that 38-31 win at Kansas. It was a sellout there, I believe. But the TCU Horn Frogs get it done. Max Duggan, Heisman candidate, no doubt. Quinton Johnston, my wide receiver 2 in the 2022 NFL Draft. I really, really like him. I'm usually not too high on Big 12 receivers, but he's one exception for me at least. So give me TCU here at 10. I really like what's going on. Sonny Dykes has absolutely proved me wrong in many ways. I actually said Sonny Dykes was the worst hire in the offseason. Just stunning. And the way SMU has played without him, sheesh. At 9, I have the USC Trojans. They are coming off a nice 30-14 win at home against Washington State. Beat a solid team by a couple scores at home, get it done. That's what USC did. Defense was impressive. The offense got off to a rough start, but was able to settle in, especially with Lincoln Riley, that's expected. So, USC, they were fine. I mean, no doubt about that. So, yeah. At 8, I have the Oklahoma State Cowboys. They are coming off a win against Texas Tech. Can't remember the final score. 41-31 it was. They struggled throughout this game defensively. They were down 8 going into the fourth quarter, but then Spencer Sanders was able to settle in and, be the guy. Oklahoma State's defense stepped up. Texas Tech was 4 for 4 on fourth downs, and Oklahoma State got a couple of key stops in the fourth quarter. So, they're still undefeated, still the number 1 team in the Big 12. But going to TCU next week, that'll be fun. Winter College Game Day could consider that game, but they'll likely go to Knoxville. But they have already went to Knoxville this year. So at 7, I have the UCLA Bruins. They are coming off that big 42-33 win against the Utah Utes. Got to give credit to UCLA. They have a Heisman candidate in Dorian Thompson-Robinson, also known as DTR. He's having fun, as T&D would say on Instagram. So, but the UCLA Bruins 6-0 now. What a start for Chip Kelly's program. They've officially locked a bowl game in. So, yeah, I mean, speaking of bowl games, a few teams have locked bowl games in, I believe. So, such as Ohio State, Alabama, UCLA, Georgia, all those teams, I believe, have locked bowl games in now. So, yeah. But, UCLA's... Oh, yeah, Coastal Carolina, they're 6-0. They walked in a bowl game. So, yeah. I almost put Coastal Carolina in my rankings. It was very close. At 6, I have the Michigan Wolverines. They are coming off a 31-10 win against Indiana. Prayers to Mike Hart, running backs coach. Had to leave the game on a stretcher. Hope he's doing well. But Michigan, they got off to a tough start here, But it seems like ever since the incident happened with Mike Hart, they were really fired up. And, Indiana really didn't stand a chance. Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are fantastic once again. And if Michigan's going to win many games, that's what they're going to thrive off on the run. At 5, I have the Tennessee Volunteers. They are coming off a 37-7. I believe that was the final score. But it was close to that win against LSU on the road. Man, the Tennessee Volunteers, what a season they're having right now. Josh Heupel, man, got to give him all the credit. Unbelievable. Hendon Hooker, Heisman candidate, also known as Hendon Ho, as Uncle Lou would say. But, I mean, this Tennessee team, they stepped up defensively too. I mean, LSU doesn't have a great offense. They probably have... you might see it on paper, the talent, but LSU is one of the worst receiving corps in college football. Malik Neighbors is really just below average. Kayshon Boutte average at best. Boutte was talked about as a potential first-round pick. I have a third to fourth round grade on him at best. He's really just played very poor this year. His attitude just isn't there either. Not a guy I draft, but I feel like if he goes first, second round, it's a reach, whoever takes him. But, Tennessee has done a great job, without Cedric Tillman too, who is expected to be back potentially for the Alabama game, which would be huge. So if Tennessee can somehow pull that off and Bryce Young comes back and they somehow do it, I mean, Tennessee, they're going to be in my top 3. So, yeah. At 4, I have the Clemson Tigers. Clemson is coming off a big 31-3 win on the road against Boston College. They were up only 10-3 at halftime. They scored that late touchdown before the first half ended. So Clemson was struggling for a bit there, but they settled in defensively. That defensive line was able to get to Phil Jakovic, no surprise. And, it should have been an easy win for Clemson, and it was. At 3, I have the Georgia Bulldogs. They finally got an easier win covering the spread against Auburn, 42-10. A lot of people were like, because of their last few games, they ain't covering the spread. I actually picked Georgia to cover the spread, so not too surprised here at all. Brian Harsin, could he be done in Auburn? We'll see. But, him and Scott Satterfield were on the hot seat. Satterfield will be retained for now, it seems like, but Harsin, on the other hand, could be chopped. So, UGA played fine. Stetson Bennett bounced back. And the defense, Robbie Ashford was in hell all day. At 2, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide. They are coming off a close 24-20 win against Texas A&M. This team easily would have destroyed Texas A&M with Bryce Young, But Jalen Milroe, he can run the ball, but he's not a great passer. Let's be real. I mean, he's still young, so he's got some growing to do, but, he turned over the ball 3 times, and Alabama needs Bryce Young back badly for their trip to Knoxville, so we'll see what happens there, but Alabama, number 2. At number 1, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are coming off a 49-20 road win against Michigan State, was 49-13. A lot of they're put the backups in, allowed to touchdown. It was a Michigan State backup, so that kind of cancels out. But Ohio State does win this one by 29. They cover the spread. Emeka Egbuka had a big game outside of that missed route on that pick 6 by Michigan State. C.J. Stroud outside of that played very well. 6 touchdowns, easily the front runner for Heisman. That Ohio State offense is firing. They didn't have Meehan Williams or Jackson Smith and Jigba. Imagine they have all their weapons, both running backs and Njigba. That offense is going to be absolutely unstoppable. The defense has been firing on all cylinders. Jim Knowles has done a great job. A lot of the points they've allowed defensively have actually been in garbage time with their backups, so the defense is even better than the stats say. I mean, the Oklahoma State defense has been really, really bad since Jim Knowles left. I mean, the only thing I'll give Oklahoma State there is Derek Mason is coaching their defense. Derek Mason, probably not one of the worst coaches in college football, one of the worst coaches in all of world sports. Not professional sports in the U.S., sports in the world. Like the whole entire world, every sport played, every coach in the world, he's probably one of the worst coaches, Derek Mason. So that's probably why their defense isn't great, but at the same time, Jim Knowles leaving pops the question. I mean, did he have that much of an impact on Oklahoma State because of the job he's done at Ohio State? Probably. So got to give Ohio State props here. They're doing a great job. So I appreciate everyone being here, Sports Expert here. Once again, please hit that subscribe button if you're new. Turn on that post notification bell. Like the video. Comment what you think. I'm out, guys. Sports Expert here. Peace.